Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Curot, writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2013 sci-fi action movie titled After Earth. Now, After Earth was directed by M Night Shayamalan. It definitely has the Pinkett-Smith family handprints all over it. Because, let's face it, the Pinkett-Smith family has a lot of creative control in there. It is produced by Will Smith, his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, Caleb Pinkett, James Lasseter, and M. Night Shayamalan. The script was written by M. Night Shayamalan and Gary Whitta. The story was written by Will Smith. Some people say that it's actually the opening book to the book of Scientology. I didn't even know that Will Smith was actually involved in Scientology. I mean, I guess there's probably more people and Hollywood celebrities who are involved in Scientology, like Tom Cruise and John Travolta, Kelly Preston. I guess she used to, but not anymore. Katie Holmes. But I didn't actually knew that Will Smith was also into this whole Scientology craze. The score was written by James Newton Howard, the cinematography by Peter Soshitsky, and it was edited by Steven Rosenblum. And the stars of the movie are his son, Jaden Smith. Remember, the Pinkett-Smith family is just pretty much all over the place here. His father, Will Smith, who seems to be taking more of a backseat in this movie than his usual head of the class type of thing. Let's see, we also have Isabelle Fuhrman. We have Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Zoe Kravitz, in it. We also have Kristopher Hivju, Sophie Okonedo, and Lincoln Lewis. Now, mind you, this is a kind of a misconception that many would regard After Earth a personal project by star and co-producer Will Smith, let alone a vehicle to help get the upcoming young hopeful son Jaden Smith to get audience approval into believing that he is ready to become a big-time star like his old man. Now, it's not really actually confirmed that he'll ever have that legacy like his father, Will Smith, but still, it makes me often wonder, is Jaden Smith ready for the big time yet? I don't know. It's hard to say. But from the looks of this movie, yes, he definitely has a tough act to follow and a long road ahead. With the Pinkett-Smith clan serving as the producers and under the direction of M. Night Shayamalan, yes, that's right, the director that everyone has given up hope on because of the fact that he's had many hits and misses throughout his his directing career, and that his status quo keeps continuing to plummet through every movie he directs or has his handprints on. But you know what? I'm not the kind of guy who gives up on hope for many people. I'm not going to look at this and say, oh, it's M. Night Shayamalan. I'm just going to steer back. No, I don't believe in steering back from anyone. I just keep on encouraging and show reassurance to people and then never give up on them. And even if the movie is bad, then that's one all the more reasons to come on my channel in the first place, to criticize, to pinpoint how good or how bad a movie is. I mean, make no mistake about it. After Earth is definitely flawed. But it's not as bad as the fans would like you to make you believe. Yes, it is a product of nepotism because of the Smith clan. And yes, it does kind of is like giving us a brief analogy of what they think will happen in the future according to the Book of Scientology. Whether you want to believe in this crap or not. But I'm going to tell you right now, I guess as a bit of a guilty pleasure, I actually did not think it was that bad. If you want to forget about the whole nepotism thing and the Scientology beliefs, this actually is quite a fun watching, somewhat campy sci-fi thriller that's got adventure to it. Maybe not much in terms of dialogue or stuff like that. And you know what? I always have a hope for the future. I definitely like to see young up-and-comers try to put their feet in the water so that they can grow and become better stars. But a lot of the critics just seem to just badly pan upon this poor Jaden Smith by condemning him because he's young and he's inexperienced. Well, Will Smith, just because Will Smith became an overnight sensation with his rap career and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, doesn't mean that every actor or actress that appears in the Hollywood industry is going to become automatic stars. No, they have to start from the rock bottom and have to try to build their momentum up. And many of them can succeed, but then again, many of them fall flat. So Jaden is just young. Give him some time, for Christ's sake. By saying in abundance, knowing that the fans will be dismissing the film as a vanity project based on the ego and nepotism, as Will Smith is taking his family on his vanity project and trying to promote his son as an accomplished performer. And then hiring a director like M Night Shayamalan, after the success of The Last Airbender, he's ready to lower himself to this. Is he ready to lower himself to this B-level vanity project? And even though we can assume that Shyamalan will do a reliable job at directing and is very talented, I might add, it's quite brave of him to rejuvenate himself knowing the many duds he's done previously. Well, you know what? For every dud that a director accomplishes, there's always at least a little bit of a gold mine underneath all that shit. The deeper you stick your hands in the shit, the bigger the reward. Now, would I say this is going to be a groundbreaking or a key to M Night Shyamalan's comeback? No, of course not. But at least he made a much more brilliant effort in capturing a provocative story with very little dialogue, mostly action, but at least it gave us something to sit through, even if it's a guilty pleasure or a one-time only thing to watch. In a nutshell, After Earth is very much a boy struggling for survival in the vast wilderness. The plot may feel like it is underdeveloped, but Shyamalan seems to take his direction with confidence, plus the editing is handled with direct care to give some dramatic elements thrown in while refraining from it, making it mundane. Without going out of its way to avoid making the movie feel preachy, the most provocative message After Earth is telling is that after the human population abandoned Earth 1,000 years ago and have migrated to a planet that's similar to Earth called Nova Prime, the Earth has practically done well for itself without the human race invading everywhere. And that the animals and the wildlife and the forestries have been rejuvenated because we evil humans had desecrated the lands, had made it corrupt, had made it almost inhabitable because of our carelessness, our pollution, and our reckless abandonment towards anything without giving it a care except for catering to our own selfish, self-centered needs. So now the animals can run around loose. The wildlife and the trees are now able to blossom better, and the humans can go fuck up Nova Prime all they want. That's just kind of like just how they think. But that's just the ideology in the minds of Scientology once again. You know, humans are bad, everybody else, all the other nature and wildlife is good. That's kind of like just what it's trying to say. The plant life, the wildlife, the birds and insects have all benefited in our absence. It's a way of getting across that Earth is not just doing well without us, but simply it doesn't really want us around, or definitely doesn't need us. You would think that with the human population gone, is the Earth going to go with it? No. In fact, it's probably going to flourish and blossom better. Sure, they don't have the advanced intellectual species like the human race, but at the same time, it's just part of their belief in this evolutionary thing. I mean, we're not the first here. I mean, the dinosaurs were here before us. And maybe the Earth itself was doing well with the dinosaurs. But the fact of the matter is that the dinosaurs and the giant mammals that were predecessors to the human race, well, they just didn't have the same level of intelligence as the humans do. So that's why their lands are much more greener and the lakes are much more immaculate and habitable for the sea creatures, and the trees and the plants seem more greener for the land animals. Before we came and screwed everything up. So, according to this movie, we're pretty the Earth could do well without us being around. Sure, there are some weaknesses to the movie that really brought the movie down. The backstory came across as prominent, but not entirely out there. Plus, the family involvement comes across as way too forced, that the partisan sincerity is all too obvious. It's obvious that this is all about the beliefs according to the Pinkett-Smith family. The CGI as a whole was impressive, but was not used consistently and were not used at all in the more dramatic scenes. Yes, there is a lot of CGI blue screening in this movie. There's going to be a lot of CGI holographic animals and alien creatures who have now kind of like took over where we've left off. But they were not really used excessively, except for just creating an atmosphere. And that's pretty much it. So the plot of the story is a top astronaut who goes by the name of Cypher, played by Will Smith. Well, he's going through a bit of some rough stages in his lifetime. He has recently lost his daughter due to some kind of negligence in the space system. So he's kind of like in this moment of grief. And aside from that, he's also on the brink of dying due to a serious leg injury that is potentially life-threatening to the point that if he doesn't get this fixed within hours, he could die. So then he sends his son out into the now humanless Earth, which has now been invaded by giant alien monster creatures. So he has to go. So Jaden Smith's character has to go out on a journey across Earth to get some kind of antidote to help restore Cypher's leg, because if he doesn't get there soon, Cypher is likely to die. But Jaden Smith's character, you know, he is bound, he is determined, and he will overcome the odds, even if it means putting his life in danger, which is a great gesture as a whole, but still very foolhardy if knowing that animal wildlife is on the loose and giant alien creatures are running amok to the planet that we once corrupted. What's odd was that he was able to regain himself by rubber tubing without an anesthetic, which is kind of dangerous. But it still seems odd that modern medicine is stagnant, even after 1,000 years into the future. I mean, when you think about this, this is like a post-apocalyptic, futuristic sci-fi thriller. You would actually think that modern medicine would have advanced even by 2019 standards. You know, that people would be living a lot longer, and that all of our major diseases that have killed us in the past, I thought that maybe there would have been some kind of a cure. But as it turns out, that futuristic medicine is still just as archaic as today's so-called modern medicine. So am I actually led to believe that nothing has changed? I kind of find that to be a little bit hard to believe. But there you have it. And let alone that this movie took place in a spacecraft, do you think that they would have had some kind of emergency kits or a physician on standby, unless the physician got killed? Because it seemed like everybody on that spaceship that they were on, they all seemed to have perished except for Will Smith's character and his son Jaden were like the only two survivors. Big surprise. But they're the only two who had survived. Jaden Smith's character, well, he's still strong. Will Smith's character is hanging on by a thread. So basically, Will Smith doesn't really get very much to do in this movie except bark orders and frown in grief. But still, it just makes me wonder. There's a lot of stuff in here that just seems quite implausible, to say the least. And sure, just because, and you know, it's just really, really hard to just accept the fact that these are the only two members of his crew that are still alive. There isn't really much in terms of heavy acting because there really wasn't very much interaction throughout. And basically, Jaden Smith was a character who was about the leading role, but he was about as laconic as it came. All he was doing was basically running away from wildlife and giant alien creatures, and it seemed like his only defensive mechanism in his fight was every time he was running around, the only thing he could ever say or utter words except for is just, "Leave me alone!" That's all it was. Every constant 5 or 10 minutes, he would just say, "Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Leave me alone!" That's pretty much all he says throughout. And I thought this was like, wow, can you come up with some kind of quirky one-liner thing like that. I mean, Will Smith is the kind of guy who could be just, snappy, but Jaden, let's face it, you have a long way to go. I wish you success, and I know there is hope for you in the future, but maybe some acting skills and some training would be definitely quite sufficient. I admire your effort, but I still think more effort could be done. And sure, just because you're the son of a famous actor doesn't mean you inherited all of your father's gifts. Sure, you're still young in the movie. It's not guaranteed that you'll ever be as good as him. But at least make a little more valiant effort in the projects as you grow. As you grow, you should be better. Not necessarily like start off and then all of a sudden you're an instant prodigy. No, I like it when people work their way to the top, not just get things handed to you. Maybe that's why a lot of people were pissed off about this movie. Maybe not at you in particular, but just who Will Smith casted. If he did actually take casting responsibilities, which I'm sure would probably not be a surprise. I mean, when it comes to like performances, I mean, a lot of second generation performers don't always measure up to the legacy of their parents. Donald Sutherland is another great example. I mean, he was a well-accomplished actor, still is, but his son Kiefer doesn't have that same level of gravitas like his father. And sure, he's been in quite a few movies throughout his over 35 years in the movie industry, Kiefer, but still, Kiefer has not really built that strong atmosphere like his father, Donald. I mean, sure, he's done well with himself in television and low-budget movies, but not anything like towards a mass appeal. And sure, Jaden has some of the features that will make his father think he's seeing a younger version of himself through the quirks, the glares, and the mannerisms. But even I still feel that could be also a little bit forced. I mean, at the same time, you don't really necessarily have to copy all of your father's traits just to make him happy. It's also nice that you could just try and to come up with your own quirks, your own kind of mannerisms. I mean, you could be like your father, but in the end, it also would be more sufficient to just try to be yourself and to find some other way of trying to express or to gain your attention with the crowds. And sure, you're still lions away before you can reach the level that your father had paid over the years. But we do need to see the younger Smith. And I do say that he may have learned a bit from his father. And, you know, even for a movie that was badly panned with negative reviews all around, I have to say you did a bit of what your father had done. And for me, that deserves a good effort. Not a great effort, but a good effort. A solid, slightly above average effort, to say the least. Though the target of the audience is definitely for preteen boys, and while the Pinkett Smith beliefs are live and loud, I still say it's a dependable watch if you just give it a chance. If you forget about the whole Pinkett Smith collaboration with the Pinkett family and the Smith family involved, and to just also suspend the disbelief because, hey, this is sci-fi, so we're not looking at Oscars, we're not looking at anything groundbreaking or inspirational or things like that. And, you know, if you want to, like, not just make you think that this is all just something according to the book of Scientology, that we're all going to be excavated from planet Earth so we can go to Nova Prime, and that the animals and the plants and the wildlife is all going to be restored because they don't need us every bit as much as they don't need us anymore, and that they could still and that the earth could still survive once we're gone. I still think this is actually a pretty good movie. I'm not pissing too much on it. It's not perfect. There's a lot of flaws in this movie, but it's not all that bad. It didn't really need to be shit upon by the critics too much. Far from perfect. But I still say it was a brilliant effort. And I'm not going to say this is going to be the key to M Night Shyamalan's comeback to seek approval from the fans. No. But I still feel that the effort was there by M Night Shyamalan. So I'm not going to piss on him just as much as the fans have done in the past few years. And who knows, it might be another time before he might find his way back on the good terms of the Hollywood industry and the critics alike. So when all said and done, if I was to give a scale out of 10, I would give the movie After Earth a 7. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric the Red Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.